welcome again to Interviews with Friends and Enemies. I'm Angela Byrne, your host, and we are here today with an amazing guest who I've known for about 10 plus years, I want to say. I could be off a bit, but it's Megan Anderson, who is kind of at the, in my opinion, the top of the tech world. And she also is a woman who I'm curious about and who I also know quite a bit about already. So what I want to encourage you to do after you watch these interviews, and for all of you who are watching for the first time, the idea about these friends and enemies is that we might find out more about someone who we don't think we have a lot in common with, and we might dig a little deeper with those who we already know. I invite you to look back at all of the first 9 interviews because we have had some extraordinary guests, all very different. My questions mean to dig deep into what makes us human, and I hope that the questions and the authentic answers that I know we can count on Megan for will inspire you to believe that we are all more connected than we are divided. Okay, here we go. We're going to dive in. So, Megan, there is this idea of the I am, or this sense of know thyself.
Right.
And so at this point in your life, would you say that you have a deep awareness, or on a scale, like, do you think you have a ways to go to truly know yourself? Where do you fall?
I always think there's room for improvement.
Right.
So that's just me. But comparatively, yes, this is always the job to do. Comparatively, for sure, not just because of time, but of circumstances and experiences, I feel now like I know myself better than ever.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it being like simple things like, what is your favorite food? And not considering anyone else. Like, what do I actually like? Which took me time to figure out, like, oh, this is what I would just want to eat myself. And not worry about how to do that. Plan a day. Like, what does a day look like? I mean, I've talked to friends about this, of just what I would do.
Right. But often our time is not our own especially if we think of others.
Always.
We get caught up in what does everyone want.
That's right. And then if you think of yourself, oh, it's selfish.
Right.
You're taking away from someone. So I definitely don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning. Like, I'm still surprising myself.
Yeah.
With what I like.
Yeah, it's still discovering something that you like, where you're like, hey,
I want onions on that pizza all day. Like, I just didn't know this.
I don't care if you don't want to kiss me.
That's right. It's my favorite thing.
My choice.
Yes. No, I do. I think about that all the time.
Mm-hmm. What is something that you might like? What is something that you might be afraid of still today?
It sounds very contrite, but vulnerability.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why you're nervous coming to talk.
Always. Yes.
It's okay to talk about that. Yeah.
Which I should be an expert on, but
right. If there is anyone who's an expert, it'd be you.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
Exactly.
I should be able to talk about myself.
Yeah.
No, vulnerability, for sure. It's always a process.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and one of the things that you and I talked about is that I noticed in looking back over the first 9 interviews that the interviews that struck me and made me really connect with both like the guest and myself. I'm like, oh, I kind of like myself. But with the guest who I was interviewing was when they were willing to be the right amount of vulnerable, where we can get to know someone. Well, I would never want to truly throw someone under the bus. Sure, that's why the title of this interview series I love, because
I do too.
It's sort of like, what? And if anyone knows me, they know that I'm not trying to create a tabloid kind of fantastical situation of like enemies and friends.
Just to be controversial. Right, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so but let's talk a little bit about the title of the interview. Would you say first, do you have any enemies? You don't have to tell me who they are.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Do you think that there is a reason why someone would consider you an enemy?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Do you feel comfortable talking about that a little? Because I feel like I can imagine lots of reasons why someone could consider me an enemy. It just is circumstantial.
Yeah. And I think the idea of having an enemy is really immature to begin with anyway, right?
Yep.
Like to define someone as an enemy
Yep.
means that you have to, think of yourself in a different way, or they
Right.
have something you don't that you want.
Yeah.
But that's
And
typically where I run into this, right? Is that the biggest thing I actually talk to a lot of people about too is your career or
Yeah.
something that they admire.
your achievements.
Yes.
Yep.
And then they can be upset about that, jealous about it, or think they deserve it.
Right.
And a lot of times I say back, like, well, are you jealous of the process it took me to get there?
Right.
Like, before you get mad and, want to be enemies about it, it's like, let me just tell you what it took
Right.
every day to get up and go to work
Yep.
with a little baby or a sick mom
Yeah.
or all these. Because if you want to be jealous of the outcome, come with and be jealous of what this took to even get here, because then you probably wouldn't think of me as the enemy. Or
I love that
right?
answer. Yeah. So I was talking with another client of mine just last week, and she is in the rocket science industry.
Nice, yeah.
And she is a young engineer, and she has done some extraordinary things. She just helped to launch, I think it was 6 rockets.
Oh,
this
wow.
was just, this was recent. So everyone would know what this company is, but I'm not going to out it for this purpose. But she was struggling asking, is there a balance? And I said, you know what? I'm going to ask my guest on Monday.
Right.
Because, and you just answered it.
Yeah.
When you're working hard, the answer is no.
No.
Right?
Not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
You're working and you're working towards something.
Yep.
And you're doing your best to take care of everyone. And I'm wondering if that is a part of why it's so hard to figure out what we really want in our free time, because we didn't have any.
Because you don't have any.
Yeah.
No, I had a good friend. She was working with a great counselor and someone we know mutually. And this counselor said, well, when do you have time to meditate? Or think about I know. We both laughed before she could finish the sentence. I was you're like, what are you talking? I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm in bed at 10 or 11 after a night meeting with somewhere in India or Asia somewhere. So meditating on what? I just fall asleep dead tired and then I get up.
Yeah.
But that's the trade-off, right? And that comes with other things too. But
and you're happy with the results, or how do you feel?
Absolutely.
Where you are now.
I mean,
how you got there.
I've been exploring the idea of regrets. Actually, it's been interesting thinking about it more. But I don't regret anything. But I was always, for me, I spend a lot of time thinking about the trade-off and what this could mean. Yeah. And so I don't regret things. But for sure, I didn't travel till I was late in my 20s. Yeah. I paid for college myself for the most part. I didn't go out partying. There was trade-offs, right? I never saw the UW campus for some days during the day because I was working for a week. Yeah. I'd be there at night studying and with a group. So this was the path I was on. Yeah. But I'm always thankful for where I am. Yeah. And I worked hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Well, and I know this about you just from one of the things that I've admired as well is that I find that there is a lot of truth to this idea that if you want something done, ask a really busy person.
Right. Yes.
And because it's counterintuitive. It doesn't make sense. Well, I'm not going to ask them so I just had someone come to me and tell me that they had been wanting for years to do something in an area, one of my areas of expertise. Mm-hmm. And I said, we were just having coffee and she had asked me to meet. And I said, well, why haven't you asked me about this?
Oh, wow.
She said, well, I didn't want to bug you.
The burden.
I'm the person you should ask. Right. So Megan, what would you say has been your greatest personal success or achievement?
Such a hard question. I know it shouldn't be.
Because you've been working so much.
There's so many to choose from.
Okay, what about is it easier to answer what has been your greatest professional success or achievement?
Easier, comes more to mind. I really think about my whole self. My whole self, biggest achievement. I mean, if I answered this, it's just getting through the day and we made it and we're here and my, family's healthy and you're healthy, I have my friends, that for me has been I'm grateful for that. Yeah. When it comes to things that I've personally contributed to, having your family is obviously the biggest thing ever. Maybe it's where Zach and I are in our relationship.
Your
now, my
son, who is, how old is he right now?
21.
Yeah.
21.
Crazy.
Yeah. And just this new, like, one thing I've learned that I love to keep is that you're always a parent. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I am learning from him. Like,
We thought it ended.
No,
Like
it
when we were
doesn't,
growing up, we
right?
kind of thought, well, you kind of stop being a parent when your kid goes off to college or maybe when they're out.
Not true.
Yeah,
And,
no.
I mean, it really continues on. And I'm like, in lots of ways.
Real parenting.
Real talk, real parenting. And that for me is the greatest achievement because I've learned to just, he can be a mentor to me. I can be a mentor to him. But I love this place that we're at.
Yeah.
And just this closeness.
Yeah.
It feels really, really good. And that was hard because I thought, oh, you're off to school. I've done what I can. The rest is up to you whenever you need me. But I need him too.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. So, that's personal.
Yeah, that's a personal one for sure.
Okay, you ready for the other side of things?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So what is your greatest personal failure? I know.
So many.
You want to throw up?
Yeah, let's
So
see.
many. I know, right?
So many.
Try to see if you can
Oh my gosh.
cherry pick one or...
I mean, there's just like, it's on the daily. Like, that didn't work well. I think that I wish I had, when my mom and I were talking one day, one of the things that she had kind of passed on to me was, I wish I'd had fun in my life. Like, I wish I wasn't. And I know now that I'm older, but things, my husband's great. He's a mathematician. Like, he always talking about how much time we have left on earth.
Right.
Things just, what's really important. And so I think I at times failed at really focusing on what's important.
Yeah.
Especially if you're busy, especially if you're trying to be all the things.
Yeah.
You think, making sure I land dinner at the right time with a starch, a vegetable, like, really, it's fine. We can have pizza from the box and everyone's fine.
Right.
Which we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, we have.
So I think I'm constantly reminding myself, like, is this really important? And
so maybe when you failed, you have felt like, oh, I didn't place what is most important first. I placed it way back there.
I did. And I know at the time, like, one thing I've learned is, like, you make the right decision at the time and then you try to make it work.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I do think about things like, gosh, I should have stayed back from that work trip to be there for a family thing. Or I should have paid more attention to a work thing in order to, elevate someone else that I thought I was paying attention to, but didn't see them the right way. Relationships with your family. I mean, thinking about that.
That my family started just saying, "Oh, I know you're busy." When they would talk to me, we would talk on the phone. This just like people talked on the phone, during the Stone Age. So they would just say, "I know you're busy," but that was the first thing, and it was like, and I know why they said it.
Because you're busy.
I was busy.
I know, right?
And it didn't start bothering me until later. And then because, we are busy doing things and making our way. And especially I think like you feel this way. There's a lot that I love doing.
Me too.
I know.
I'm so curious about everything.
You are.
I'm like a scholar.
I love that about you.
Questioning. Yes.
You are.
If I can make a program. No, I am.
Right.
Yeah. So I do get, and the other thing I've learned too is when you are, and for all the career people out there, especially for women, is you're busy, you're doing things. People do think this about you, and you don't get invited to all the things, right? Yeah. And I would take that on as a failure. Like, I didn't stay connected to my friends.
Oh my, you are speaking my language right now.
Yeah, that has been a lot of my reality. And when I get over myself and be like, especially when Instagram and thing, you're like, oh, everyone looks like where am I in this picture? You realize
that's the classic.
Failure or not, but like, I'm dropping off with my half homemade snack, and here we go. And then the other moms and some dads are hanging out and going to go to yoga, and then come back right at 3. But I'm after school care. Like, there's always
you had to make a lot of sacrifices in both directions.
You do, and I'd have some wonderful friends who bridge, and but honestly, I would feel like I failed. I didn't, make a connection. I didn't build a community. I didn't reciprocate. That can be hard.
That I think that most professionals, I don't know. I wonder if men feel that way, but I'll ask one later in another interview. So what would you say then? Like, have you had a really great or a big I mean, I'm sure you have, but what's been a professional failure that you can talk about?
A ton of those as
Yeah,
well.
right. There
I
always
mean,
are when you're aiming
yeah,
high.
when you go high. I think for a while I thought, oh, growing my career meant growing in numbers, like, oh,
Yeah.
bigger teams, bigger responsibilities, bigger scope. I had a great manager who taught me, like, if you really want to be a great leader, and it took me a few turns, like, figure out if you can do the same amount of things with a small team and a small scope, and then may have a bigger impact.
I like efficiency.
Oh, yeah. And not everyone
that.
reports to you. Like, you have to work with people who don't report to you, who have another,
Yeah.
their own business unit, their
You
own
can't control a
agendas.
lot of
Yeah.
what they're,
What are you going to give them? And we're like, it was the hardest. And I resisted that for so long. I
Yeah.
kept thinking it goes in this direction. And the truth is, you won't have everyone report to you in your whole
Yeah.
career, right?
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to get people excited and
Right.
have a good enough idea that they want to join you.
Right.
Right?
You have to be inspiring.
For sure.
Like in a very deep and broad way,
Yes.
period.
Because if your idea's not that good, then
Yeah.
even the people that report to you shouldn't want to do it. So
Right.
I've had to really take
Yeah.
the hard lesson.
We've all
in
had
that
bad
profession.
ideas.
Oh yeah, my team will be like,
Bad
I'm not
plans.
doing that. That means I'm not meeting my goals.
Right.
So that's professionally been the hard. And I've done a few failures, like, oh, I won't take that opportunity.
Yeah.
I've had people who I admire come to me and ask, like, could you work on a project? It would mean a team of 4 and this, but I'm like, well, why have a team of 100? Like,
Yeah.
why would I do that?
Why would I deign to work with
Right,
4?
right. Such a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, I took too long, I think, to
Was
get
your
to that.
was the professional executive coach? Is that what you would
He
call
was
her?
a manager.
Or-
No,
okay,
this was just
different
one of my managers, but
Okay.
she was great too. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was he's like, look, you can take the classes, you can get the promotions, but you actually have to work on things that for people that don't know you.
Yeah.
It could be a colleague or above you, and you have to find a way to get funding and headcount and their time and build
Right.
it into their goals. You will never have a career that everyone always reports to you and they're going to
Yeah.
align with it. So figure it out.
Right.
It's like,
And it was hard to, yeah.
so
It was hard to
hard.
learn. I can relate to
Really,
that.
really hard. Yeah, you have to have a really
Yeah.
good idea that helps the bigger goal for
The big,
everybody.
yeah.
Mhm.
I can remember having a team of people who I felt like I had already really inspired for a business that I owned. And I remember, and I remember that I could tell when someone had lost the love and feeling.
Yeah.
And it was really tricky to figure out if it was my responsibility that they had lost. Exactly. Because one of the things that I would say to people later, a self-criticism that was appropriate, is that I'm a really good coach and mentor and, like role model for people who work really hard and consistent and operate at a high level. But if you think about who does that, it's a small
percentage.
And so what happens here, and like, do I not want to grow? And I felt like it was a badge of honor that, these people who operate at a high level can work with me really well. Well, that's such a small percentage. And while I think that's important, I think what I learned is that the beauty, the art, and the importance of a really good leader is the understanding of all the layers of
for sure
characteristics, qualifications, willingness, interest, and finding out how to do all of that.
Yeah, and recognizing about yourself that, like, this might get me excited and inspired.
Yeah.
I love messy. I love the unknown. I love, like, that does the opposite
It
for this
terrifies
person
that
over
person,
there, right?
yeah.
So I got to find a way to package it in somewhat with enough information.
Yeah.
Because I need them.
Right.
And remember, that doesn't make them excited to wake up in the morning to be like,
Right.
what's going to happen today?
Okay, so Megan, if you could describe for me, I feel like I know what you're going to say, but what is your, try to surprise me.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Just say what's true. What do you think is your superpower if you have one?
Oh, I've asked this question.
Is it too vague? Is it too
No, I
vague?
like the
okay.
question, and I know I've asked other people this, and the other part, like I have this Libra thing, the balance of like, well, here's what I think, and that has some vanity to it. So I asked my son and my husband, like I asked people around because that's who could give you the real answer. I know for sure though, one of my superpowers, and I don't always hit it, but I think about it and I think about it intentionally, is whenever I'm with someone or at an event or at a meeting or with my family, or I always want people, appropriately though, to feel better when they left with me than when they came in. Like that's one of my superpowers is that people feel better or happier, even if the topic's hard and they may not like it. I think about that. Like once we've had an interaction of some kind, like they feel better when they left than when they started.
That's very kind. I've been thinking about our Seattle region, and I know you live in San Jose now, but we first met in Seattle, and you were here for quite a long time.
Forever. I mean, I'm still a Seattle person.
Yes, but you don't live here now, even though you come back a lot. So in thinking about Seattle and what the reputation is for Seattle in us being kind of chilly, I think about the kind and the someone who's polite and someone who's kind. And I think of you as being truly kind. Mm-hmm. Like that's been my experience, because it would be very easy for you to just be polite. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like, because you don't, it's not really necessary. Yeah. You've got enough great qualities. You really could just phone it in and just be polite. Mm-hmm. So it really does have to be an internal desire. Like you're inspired to yourself make this happen.
Yeah. And kindness can be a lot of things.
It's huge.
Yeah, it can be a lot. And it can be giving people, respecting them enough to give them the information and the truth so that they can take action on it. It can be,
that's a good point.
The kindness of just doing something and really expecting nothing in return. Yeah. There's so many different kinds of kindness, but mentors and managers and my family, my life, kindness for me is also the truth. People don't like it, but it's kind to tell them because you respect them enough that they can handle that information and do something with it and let them decide. And the other kindness can be, it's not weakness. It's not, why not want to make people feel good and better when they left?
If there's an option.
Yeah, if you can. Yeah, of course. Even if the information is hard, why not want to do that?
Yeah.
Like that help, and then they'll take that with them and maybe they'll help someone else. Like that's how we should be with each other.
I think that it is great to have a return to what is kind and what is considered, not considerate specifically, but considered. Because when we consider another, right, and consider ourselves, right, because you can't, it's got to be that balance. Because we talked at first about the I am and the know thyself, right? You've got to know yourself, I think, truly before you can really be kind, authentically.
And the kindness is typically, for me anyway, been the harder route. It's easy to be angry and toxic and gossipy and, standoffish or whatever. It's easier. It doesn't
feel good though, right?
It doesn't.
To the person who's doing it, to be standoffish and angry, it doesn't.
No, and it doesn't add up in the end. Like you may have a little bit of it, but it never works. Like that's the easy road. I always want something that's harder. Like it's harder to be kind.
You want a challenge.
In the face of something difficult. Like finding kindness in this is the challenge, and that is the hardest thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. What do you hope your son has learned from you?
Oh, such a good question. All the time. Well, for the viewers watching, you were a big part of that for me, for him. You were. He was, in school and his senior year and his senior project, and we talked a lot about what he would do for a senior project and where he would intern. Like, this is an opportunity. And there's a lot of great things about him going into tech or something where his, family and parents were in, and we talked a lot about it. And I told him, and it was his choice. Yeah. And he took it further than I thought. But I was like, what about something that you've never done? Like, it is a luxury, I realize, to be able to spend time thinking about something that you've never done, and you don't have to make money and, take care. Like, you're just able to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Try something that I know nothing about, that I am not really that experienced in, and teach yourself. And so that's when he came to you
Yeah.
to learn how to paint and be, get into the artist sort of mindset, which he took with him to college. Like he was still doing it.
Yeah.
But it was just an important part for me to teach him change isn't hazardous.
Yeah.
Knowing something you don't know isn't scary. And whoever you are, whatever you're going to be that person, that thing in any situation.
Yeah.
You're not just there because someone else got you there. Like you'll have this with you wherever you go.
Exactly.
And you taught him that. Like he had some of the best teachings ever.
Well, that was Mina's talking about a program at a Seattle high school that I think is a really well-run program too.
Yeah.
Like that was a huge benefit,
very
right?
well organized.
Yeah. And this was just at the end of COVID. And Megan's son had been, as most kids throughout our country,
getting through this tough time.
And so I am an artist, a professional artist, as well as other things that I do. And I've had a lot of art events and done coaching for artists, actually kind of around the world. Yeah. And Megan has done, I'm kind of a tough
one of my
coach and teacher.
But I worked on.
It's not a failure. No, you actually had it. She had a great piece and it looked very much like what I would imagine she would do. And she was a great participant and she asked me super tough questions. Remember we had, this is a sidebar. Remember Denny Dwyer?
Oh, I remember.
Hypnotist. So I brought a hypnotist into the group. Yes. And it was mostly because I knew that all the people could actually create, kind of like we're talking about Zach doing something he hadn't done before. I knew that they could create.
Yes.
They just had barriers. And I knew that I could help them with that. But I thought I would bring in an expert to do some other magical work with them to even convince them more. And it was really great.
He was phenomenal. That was great. Those
Shout
were
out
some
to
really
Denny
good times.
Dwyer, naturallaw.com. I think he still does some work and he was super impactful for me. But back to Zach.
Yes.
So Zach wanted to create some art. And he wanted to create the art about his experience through COVID.
Yep.
So he worked on pieces. We organized. I was hard on him, but he felt like it was going to be easy. He shared that with me. He said, I chose you because I thought it was going to be kind of like easy. Now, I say that because I think that's actually great because I remember some of the best teachers I had. I felt like they later in life, I thought back and I was like, they tricked me. They tricked me into thinking they were doing one thing when they were doing another thing.
So true. You Karate Kid him.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly. So totally. Yes. So Zach, but because he completed this project beginning to end, his own ideas, and we went through and kind of authenticated everything. He did something he had never done before and he presented it.
Amazing.
To a group. We went over how to present it and keep the audience in mind.
And I didn't know anything about it. It was stunning.
She said to me, I feel like I want to cry when he was finished with the presentation. So what's hilarious that I don't know if I shared with you is I thought she wanted to cry because the work was so beautiful. So do you remember why? No, it was. It totally was. But it was because you didn't know how emotional he had felt and how low he had felt and him sharing this. That's
art.
And that's one of the beauties of art.
Yeah.
It transforms.
It does.
Lives.
And you did that for him. And that would have been nothing I could have helped him know in a tech world. And he's brought it with him. Yeah. He's absolutely brought it with him.
He's doing some, yes. Okay. Maybe we'll get to interview him later. And maybe him and Megan. We dabbled in talking about that. Here's 2 questions in one.
Harder. Okay.
Yeah. Two questions in one, sort of. So I think wait for it. So who do you seek advice from now? And it can be about what too, because there could be different categories. And then who would you like to see me interview next?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Thank you.
I'm ready for that.
I know. See, I have to trick you.
Okay.
Because I know you too well.
Yeah. I didn't prepare for that.
She watched all the interviews and it's too much to even explain. But I love someone who prepares though, because it's just up my alley.
In your vibe. Yes.
I know. So I tricked her.
You did trick me.
So
who I get advice from, it depends on what I'm
Yeah.
thinking about or
course.
asking about. I sometimes have to remind myself to get advice. That sounds
Yeah.
weird, but I feel like,
No,
wait,
it
hold
doesn't.
on. Like there's other people to
Maybe
actually
someone
plan
knows.
this besides the one in my mind. But I love diversity of advice. Like
Yeah.
I love, like in
That's
my
a great way
mind,
to answer it. Yeah.
I have a little board of directors, and
Yeah.
I'm like, there's this person and this person, this
Are
person.
they actual people?
Yes, they're real people. They're not just little tiny angels. So I go, and I ask people that I wouldn't think would have, because it's their expertise. Like I like
Yeah.
asking someone else who knows nothing about the topic.
That's actually a great idea.
Because if they can explain it to me, then it will be
Right.
much more successful
Oh,
than
I
something
love
too
that.
complex.
Yeah. Okay. So who do you think would be a good?
So many people.
Really?
And
I
is
know.
it people that I know you know, or can it just
No,
be
it
anyone?
doesn't. Yeah. Like, is there just someone that pops into mind? I know a lot of people.
Oh gosh, like Toni Morrison.
Oh, the writer?
I want you to
Yeah.
get into
I
writers.
taught her her books. Like I taught language arts and art in
you're a teacher.
Seattle public school system. And I
wonder
so
what
I
you
did
two would
teach
do
her.
together, right? Like from a writing background and then your background, like how this would so I think
Ooh,
about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good one.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one is, so like let's do a two-parter on this one too, because I have so many questions. So it's part one, do you talk to or have experience with the unseen world?
Yes.
And oh good, that was just a one word. Do you talk to your own personal, do you have your own personal AI? Do you talk to AI? What do you do with AI?
So much. Yes. Yes, I do think about there being another one. Yes. And I've had lots of people, you and I've had conversations.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with scientists. I have some really good friends too. And we've talked about, when someone, just scientifically even, when someone passes, is there present, like, are there still molecules in the air? Is there still, like, because we're all electrons reacting to things, right? So
this is about talking to the unseen, not AI.
No, not AI. We'll get to AI. Yeah, for sure. So I think that is always true. And then, even if it's helpful for you, but there's, people leave their legacies within you.
Yeah.
And so you have this connection, whether you want it open or not, as we talked about, where
like a door, there's an opening.
You have it.
A transference sometimes.
Yeah. And I don't think it's like, oh, I'm super, I just think it just depends on what you're willing to listen to and know.
Good.
So everyone has it.
Yeah.
And you can look at it scientifically, you can look at it in a spiritual way, however it works for you. But yes, I do. For AI, I'm all about this. And I have this is a funny story. I worry that AI is going to know me. I'm always very polite, like, please and thank you. And like, cause I don't know, but I have built AI agents for like travel, exercise, medical, this, and then I want them to talk to each other and test each other's. And I'm not as good as my husband. There's other people, but I'm really trying to build a network of my own agents that help each other, help me get an answer. And I think of it just like, we talk a lot about health, and I want this balanced view of, if you know my exercise and then you know my weight and my blood pressure, is this the best things to be doing? And then given my schedule, is this the right travel to, like, I want to build quality.
Okay. I have a question about that I can't forget.
Yeah.
Do you think or believe that AI is always giving you the most useful answers?
No.
Okay, let's stop there for a second. So Kevin, who's the filmmaker here, he uses Pi AI, and he just all on his own was doing a similar thing to what you were doing, in that he is very polite.
Yes.
He's very considerate.
Yes.
He's very sweet about how he talks with Pi.
Mm-hmm.
And he also challenges Pi when Pi shifts the answer from, say, 2 weeks ago, where all of a sudden now it's been programmed slightly, right?
Why did
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So Love
No,
it.
I do. I mean, I try to catch it too. Like, well, your answer assumes a certain point of time. You didn't
Yeah.
ask me over what amount of time over the, and that you're right.
Right.
That would be another thing to consider and blah, blah. And so,
Yeah.
no, I don't trust, it doesn't always give great answers. In fact,
Right.
it's learning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very, smart AI people that you can watch on YouTube, like your channel, and learn like how to build quality in answers and set up a framework. For me, it's just another consideration, another thing to consider as part of, testing assumptions.
Right.
But there's a little bit of me like, might need to be nice to you one day?
Yeah.
When you look back, will AI be like, well, Megan was really polite.
I think so. I think I think so. I've watched people who I won't name, but who talk about that that AI, if it doesn't now, has a sense of consciousness, and that in the future, the more emotionally and consciously aware AI grows to be, that we don't want to create a situation where there's a hierarchy that's really imbalanced or pejorative or we want to be kind.
Right. I don't want war games with Matthew Broderick.
Okay. Kevin feels the same way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to go through now.
Okay.
I think this is really fun, and I do find that sometimes I need to follow up better than I do, because sometimes the questions provoke a really great. Yeah, it's a flash round.
Okay.
It's as close as you can get to a one-word answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Love this.
Do you talk to God?
Yes.
Do you talk to ghosts?
Yes.
We already learned that. What's your favorite podcast? See, that's
every
hard.
day. Yeah. Okay. Can I come back to it?
Yes.
I listen to the daily every day. I'll say that.
Okay. Yeah. Books on audio, yes or no?
Not often.
Okay. And do you dance?
Yes.
What? I'll come back to that.
No.
Who was your best friend in grade school?
Her name was Julie.
Okay. Middle school?
Still Julie.
High school?
Mostly Julie.
It was all Julie all the time.
And then, yes.
How about now?
My best friend? Probably my husband. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And is this your first husband?
No.
Do you have more?
I've been remarried.
Have you had a first husband? Okay.
I've had first
Many
husband.
of us, I've had a first husband.
Yes.
I mean, it's very common.
Yep.
Okay. Did you think that you would ever have a second husband? Meaning when you start? Yeah.
No.
I didn't. I wasn't. I was looking when I decided for this to be it.
Yeah. I'm quite like conserved that way. Like this is going to be it. I'm going to work hard. It's going to be like this. And this is how it's going to work. And it doesn't always work out as planned. But no one never saw this coming ever in my life. Ever.
Yeah. That's a whole other show.
Yes.
Okay. When was your first romantic kiss?
Probably in middle school.
Okay.
Sorry, Dad.
Did it lead to love?
Yes.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Animals or people?
People. Yeah.
Not about the romantic kiss.
Different segue.
You're so quick. You know what I meant. Do people think you're funny?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Describe your style.
I try to be timeless. Like, is this something that feels good, works good, and black. All black. Basically.
There's nothing that's the new black. It's black.
It's just black. That's it.
Do you feel free?
Sometimes.
How important is your family?
Very.
How important is your work?
Also very. A very close second. Yeah.
A very close second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you all hear that? Now the family can rejoice.
Yes.
And know who's on top. Finally.
Yes, always.
What is one addiction you have?
I love working out. Whatever, walking, running, gym, meditate. Well, I meditate a little bit. I try.
Okay, I have a follow-up. We have to talk about meditate. I have a very quick hack from someone who was also on YouTube who's written some books about meditating where you don't need a lot of time.
I need a hack on that.
Who do you admire most?
I admire you a lot. I'm not just saying that because we're here. Like I do. There's people in my life. Truly. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're definitely on the top of the for sure.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. My husband. I admire. My son.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
dad.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick meditation hack.
Yeah, give me one.
Is imagine, this is courtesy of RJ Spina, Spina. If you don't know who he is, he's kind of incredible. It might blow your mind, so be careful. But it's a podcast. You can probably find him anywhere, but he's written several books too. So this quick hack is imagine that you have been put here right now, and you have no past and you have no future. And that's all you have to imagine. Is that's it. And then right at that moment, if as long as you imagine that, you are in a new right here, right now space. And that's all meditating is.
Just being present.
Yep.
That's easy.
So easy, you guys.
So easy. Because my head will just start spinning and I need to sit cross-legged.
So it's just, I'm right here. And I have no past and no future.
I love that.
And it's not scary. That's the weird thing. It's like, it's not scary thinking you don't have any past or future. Okay, so now is the fun part of the interview where we do the drink ritual. Yes. And this is basically where we just get to know a little bit more about Megan by what she likes to drink and how she likes to make it. So let's hear about
my drink of choice. So I love gin. I try all different kinds of gin. I like the clean kind of crispness of it. And I love tonic in that water. And I like lime. Some people like lemon. I've always loved lime more than lemon. But it's the perfect clean, drink that goes with everything. You can have it alone. You can have it with a charcuterie board, whatever it is. Yeah. But I also think a lot of people just like this. And it's not high in calories. You don't have to worry about, are you red or white?
Yeah. And it was Fever Tree tonic.
Fever Tree and then Monkey gin.
And Monkey gin. Okay, perfect.
Favorite.
And then a little lime. All right, let's see.
Cheers to us.
Cheers.
Great job. So good.
We did so well.
We're so good at this. We should keep doing this.
Ooh.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. It's like if it were warm out, I would.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like it's a perfect warm weather, but it's warm in here.
It is. It feels good. It feels like it's refreshing.
I know. No, it's delicious. And the Fever Tree tonic is really delicious.
It is really good. I know. It's my favorite. Do we get to drink while we keep going?
Yeah, you
okay.
Drink it up. Because you're going to need a drink for these next questions. No.
I'm ready.
Okay. So a couple questions that I always ask are, what would you like to promote or maybe inspire people to do or take away? Because as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, like some people who come on the show, have a business that they're promoting, or they do something where people can come and see them. So for you, I don't know if that is
affiliated with something.
Yeah.
I mean, I do volunteer quite a bit and do a lot of that. And so I do love Mary's Place, which is one of my favorites. And I'm trying to find, what to do in San Jose. So I come up here a lot. And then I just joined ARCS. So a friend of mine, Margaret, who introduced me to ARCS here in Seattle and then introduced me to people in San Jose. And they support students and give them a stipend and help them have, money to live on while they study, and specifically in the science schools. So that's important. But I will say this, and I was just talking to Zach, who we talk about all the time. I remember telling him yesterday, and I've thought about this, like volunteering and giving back. And one thing I started early, and I wish I'd started even earlier, was giving back 1% of what I make. Yeah. Always. Like, I always, and that way it's not about a dollar amount. It's like if I give 1%, if I earn more that year, it's always 1% or 5%. And so I've done that since I was 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you were an early professional.
Yes, I mean,
too.
Yeah.
So you've been giving
for
a long time.
Giving. I give a lot. It was just a big way. Like I thought, deal with this in percentages, not in dollars. So if you don't have time, give money, but give it in a percent. So if I earn more, other people have more. Right. Just work with it that way. Even in COVID, just keep it going.
Just to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so you talked about Mary's Place and then ARCS. Okay. Yep. And is it ARCS?
Yes.
Okay.
All caps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All caps.
Both really good. All caps.
Okay, good. I like it.
Thank you.
What? So I don't know what you're going to say about this, so I'm curious. Let's see how deep you can dig.
Okay, I had another sip.
Well, good. So what do you want or need. Like that, someone who you want for someone to want to do the thing.
And it gives them pleasure to do it, right?
Yeah.
Versus feels
so you
like
want
a
the
chore.
win-win.
I totally
Like not to be
like,
too corny. But...
Otherwise, yes. Or those are like, I can just do it on my own. I can do it myself.
Well, wait though, because you've talked about doing something and not wanting anything back.
Yes.
So
for me, that's fine.
Yeah, but for others, they have to win. They have to also win.
Yeah, otherwise I feel like I've added something to their plate.
This is interesting.
Yeah, you got me.
No,
it's true.
We all have these
Yeah,
things,
it doesn't go in all the ways.
Yeah, you expect a different thing
I'm
of
a middle
yourself.
child. Like, that is me. Children.
I'm
First
just
girl,
like
middle child.
Care about every.
You just kind of disappear in the family.
Takes it upon yourself to make things happen.
Yes.
Then I think I would describe a lot of middle children feeling like they needed to do that because they were invisible in the family.
For sure. I
Is
mean,
that how you
it's funny.
felt?
Oh my gosh. I can have a conversation with my dad and I'll go, I was there. And he's like, no, there was this. I'll describe the same thing. He's like, no, it's your brother. My husband's even South. I'm like, that was me. I was there. And like the other day at my dad's house, all his passwords are named after just one sibling. We can guess which one his favorite. Like it's just,
that's not you.
It's not me. I mean, I know listen, but middle children are just like you're just kind of you're the outsider.
Is it your brother or sister?
Family. It's my brother.
He's the favorite.
Oldest boy. Yeah, no, my sister's the young baby, and I love them both.
Right, I know you do. Yeah,
like you're just kind of the outsider. Like it's funny.
You're like I was there.
They didn't know what to do with me. Yeah, like
no, you weren't.
Even the school story we talked about. Mom's like, I have no idea what you're doing today, so just get there on time and bring back your.
Don't make trouble.
Yeah, good luck. Make sure your sister gets there too.
Good luck. Yeah, do all the other things.
Yeah, keep things running.
Okay. Is there anything else that we should
discuss?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This is the best part.
I don't think anyone else has asked me that. I could be wrong. I don't think.
Asked you a question?
I don't think anyone has said, can I ask you a question? Have they?
No, not in the interviews I watched.
Yeah, see.
Or they might have and you cut it.
I'm like, listen, this is my show.
Ask away, but it's not going to make it.
Okay.
So it's okay.
Do you have one ready? Yes.
I mean, it's an easy one, but what did you think this was going to be when you started this? When you started, and then
the whole series?
Yeah, and how is it showing up? Is it?
Oh, yeah. So when I started, I wanted it to be slow food. I wanted it to be an answer to fast, quick interviews and fast, quick information where you learn. It's kind of like, what do you do? Like, what do you do for a living? And I kind of famously or maybe infamously don't usually ask people what they do.
Right.
So this is also a way to, I don't.
Yeah, you don't.
I didn't even know what you did for a long time. I didn't
talk about
another person who knew Megan and I were talking, and she told me all sorts of things. But I love that because I get to be naive.
Sense of I get to know the role.
Yeah, I get to know the person.
You do. Yeah.
So when I first started, I thought, well, it started when I was going to the gym.
Oh, nice.
I was going, not so nice because I was going to the gym and finding myself thinking that I was irritated by people and I didn't necessarily like some or a lot of them. And why? And I don't know, maybe they didn't like me either. I don't know.
Wow.
And then I thought, well, I know that can't be really true. Like it's got to be about the separation that we all feel maybe just when we don't talk much.
Right.
So I thought, well, as I was walking around the block, because I do a little walking and thinking, and I came up with the idea I wanted to do it. Luckily, I have Kevin who is able to and was willing to do it. So it started out like that. People thought I was really easy on my interviewees. Like that's some feedback I've gotten. Like I was coddling them. So that's
feedback. Like that.
Yeah. So that was feedback that I got. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I had one person tell me who, by the way, I didn't end up interviewing because he was more interested in a date than an interview.
Oh, well, that's different.
But I say that because he led me on to believe he was interested in an interview. So I went and did a pre-interview. And then later he works out at the gym. Kev knows about this story.
Yeah.
And I ran into him and he said, "Oh, I watched your interviews. Kind of reminded me of Portlandia."
Oh.
He said, "You're actually really a nice person."
Of course
But
I
like
am.
it was a put down.
Oh.
Like it was just kind of a ridiculous, like, no, like too
random
nice.
thing to say.
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, it obviously affected me because I thought about it, I was like,
that's not how I want to come across.
yeah, I didn't want to but I also didn't want to come across mean-spirited. Like my journey was to try to teach myself as well as maybe other people that there is a way to go a little bit deeper.
Right.
And know people, and that interviews with friends and enemies.
Well, hence the friends and enemies.
Right?
Yes.
And I will tell you that there have been a couple of interviews that I did where that person maybe existed in that other category.
In the other category for that 1 second. And then.
Yeah, right. And they didn't know that. I didn't talk about that. And it did, it shifted things. And I still wanted to care for them in the interview. Of course. So,
has it changed how you feel about people? Like when you think about that gym thought or around?
I don't think it's changed how I feel about people. It's changed my attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Which is similar. It's a similar, it's just a little bit different in that it's made me realize that it's me, not them.
Right. Yes. Always. Right.
And because one person answers a question and I think, well, I would never answer that question that way. We kind of talked about that.
Oh, yes, I did.
Right. Yeah. And so I will sometimes think that there's one interview that I haven't aired yet because someone said some things that I thought, will that person want people to hear this?
That? Right.
So another advisor told me that I should ask the person to watch it and then see if I could release it. But I don't actually think I even need to do that. I think I might just release it.
And just go with it.
Because she was fully participatory. It wasn't I wasn't leading her or guiding her, making her say things.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
She's just a very, she shares a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that.
Yes.
She shares a lot, and in her work, she shares a lot.
And so this is a normal state of things.
It felt, I think, normal. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
What she has to say.
I feel like what you're doing is what you've always done, just in a different medium.
Yeah.
But I've never felt coddled. Not ever. Yeah.
I don't try to coddle
I usually feel
people.
like, I'm a little comfortable, but she's right.
Yeah, that's
right, but you'll know what I'm gonna say before I say it. I'm like, I'm not even gonna say.
Yeah.
I think you're.
I might coddle people who are on the other side.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe the Velvet Hammer.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the Velvet Hammer.
Remember Kristen, our joint friend, when she told me that people called her Mother Teresa in combat boots? I thought that was one of the best compliments ever. Okay.
Yes.
Megan, thank you so much for agreeing to be here. She came so far and brought so much.
Thank you.
To the party. And I'm so glad you got to know a little more about her. And we look forward to seeing you on the next interview. Who knows? Maybe it will be with Toni Morrison.
Maybe. Oh my God, I'm coming to watch.
Toni.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Exactly. You're doing my job for me. Look at that. That's such ahead of it. So subscribe if you feel like liking. Great. If you feel like this is like Portlandia, I mean, it's a funny show. Portlandia is hilarious.
We're good company.
Exactly.
Yeah. Love you. Thank you.
Oh, love you too. Thank you very much. Okay. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, that does it for this episode of Interviews with Friends and Enemies. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We look forward to bringing you many more exciting guests and interviews in the future. Bye for now.